All right, so the three tenets that we typically will lean on are the CIA Triad, and specifically that is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Um, to you guys that are listening here, um, which one do you feel like? Let's just open up the mics here. Try to go one at a time. Which one do you guys feel like is the most important?
Integrity. Confidentiality.
Okay.
Integrity.
Only three people on the line?
One more for confidentiality.
Okay.
I would say integrity.
All right.
If I had to pick one of the three, integrity.
Integrity. All right. All right, great. Well, usually these are referred to as the Holy Trinity, if you will, and usually you'll see it drawn like this with the CIA Triad. Um, and actually, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, actually asked the security community to call it the AIC Triad. So not to be confused with the Central Intelligence Agency. So whatever way you're going to remember it, it's up to you. But what I would say is that to answer my question, it really depends, right, on which business you're doing. If you're doing, again, I'm going to go back to my Amazon. If you're doing, 100 million people logging on to your website a day, I think probably availability is going to be the most important. If you're a bank, on the other hand, integrity is probably pretty important. And if you're the Department of Defense, maybe confidentiality would be the most important. But really, I think that it depends on whatever the context is for us to apply the logic here. There is a fantastic chance that you will see questions in and around the CIA Triad. So keep that in mind whenever you're going through and preparing that this is super important. You'll see this all throughout your career in information security. Really, really important. And for our purposes, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. So, stand by 1 second. All right. So what is it? I told you a little bit earlier, that's it. Confidentiality. Ensuring that information is accessible only to those authorized to have access. Yep, sounds good to me. Information must only be accessed, used, and copied by users who have been authorized. Only when there's a genuine need, like we talked about before, principle of least privilege. Doesn't necessarily have to apply to just the access control components, but it can, do you need to show somebody top secret stuff if they don't need to see it? No. But also, if you have a breach in confidentiality, stuff may have been accessed, used, or copied, disclosed to someone who's not authorized to have access to the information. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to get pretty heated right now when I say this. Maybe you've heard of the Office of Personnel Management. Well, they actually do the background investigations for the federal government. And about 6 months ago, they were compromised. Well, if you're not a federal contractor and you don't have a background investigation with this clearance, then that probably doesn't mean too much to you. But if you have gone through this before, the background investigation, you know that they want a whole truckload of information from you. They want to know everywhere that you've ever lived. Have you been outside the country? Are you taking any prescription medications? Are you, what's your SSN? What's your wife's SSN? Or, your kids' SSNs? Um, so this Office of Personnel Management, they hold all that stuff confidential. Well, 41 million federal contractors' identities and corresponding information, 41 million were stolen because of a breach by an attacker. So that sucks, to be quite honest with you. And it's embarrassing that something like that happens to our federal government, specifically the Department of Defense. So it's just embarrassing. But check it out. That's confidentiality. Integrity usually has something changed. Usually you can check the integrity of something by whether or not it's been modified or deleted, or maybe even something new has been added to the system. I like to tell stories whenever I'm teaching, and when I was first getting into teaching at the universities about 10 years ago, I didn't think people really wanted to hear the stories, but oftentimes the feedback, people remember the stories more than anything. And I was playing golf with this guy who was an executive with a large federal contractor, and he had a bunch of work that he was looking for people to come and subcontract his company to do some work. And so, I had lunch with him, and I was meeting up, and he says, "Hey, you play golf?" And I was like, "Yeah, I play golf." So we arranged a golf meetup, and we went out to this place here in town called Hampton Cove, one of the Robert Trent Jones golf trail. And we go out to the first tee box, and I knew something immediately was going awry. He missed the first ball when he swung, and then the second one went into the woods, and then he teed up another one without even saying anything, and then that one went into the woods. So we got into the cart. We were kind of just laughing at him. He was laughing at himself, so I was laughing at him as well. Of course, I got up there and yoked it right down the middle. But then, we drive up to my ball, and he just throws it down right next to my ball, and he hits it. Well, all throughout the day that we're going and playing golf, almost every time we would come up to the golf ball, or his golf ball, he would move it. And I'm not talking, an inch, because you're in a ground under repair, which is totally legal to do. I mean, he would move it an entire club length, or take it out of the rough, put it on the fairway. And I've been playing for a little while now, and I've never seen anything quite like that before, so didn't really know what to say. I get back to the clubhouse after the 18th hole, and I'm getting a receipt from the golf pro there, and I just had an inkling to tell the golf pro. I was like, hey, something happened out there. I was playing with this guy, and almost every time that he would walk up to the ball, he changed it. He moved it. And he didn't, I mean, that's not authorized to do that in a game of golf, right? Well, the golf pro said something super simple to me, and this is why I'm telling the story. He says to me, that should tell you about the integrity of that person. Because really, golf is a gentleman's game, and you're basically, on your honor that you're playing it. And straight up and down, when that golf pro said that to me, I thought to myself, you know what? That does tell me about the integrity of this guy. He did change that golf ball. The ball moved, and if something has changed, then the integrity is no longer there. In that particular case, I chose not to do business with the guy. Well, again, if it depends on where you're at and what services you offer, but being able to get the users of your system access to something when they need it is typically what is referred to as availability. Usually we see the denial of service attacks um, that compromise the availability of websites, and I'm sure that you guys have seen some of the things that go in and around some of the denial of service attacks that are out there.